Village of Hainesville regular board meeting will now come to order on Tuesday, October 14th, 2014 at 7:03 p.m. If everybody will please rise, and I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Linda Soto.
Present.
Trustee Stiernoski.
Here.
Kreis.
Here.
Duberstein. Here. Daly.
Here.
And Walkington. Trustee Barrett is absent.
And Trustee Barrett is heading back from Green Bay from work obligations, hopefully safely in this weather. So he is not here tonight, but I did talk with him yesterday. And if I can have a motion for approval of tonight's agenda.
So moved.
Roll call.
Trustee Stiernoski.
Aye.
Kreis.
Aye.
Duberstein. Daly.
Aye.
And Walkington.
Aye.
Okay, at this time we have a guest speaker. I'm happy to say we have the fire chief from the Grays Lake Fire Protection District, John Christian. And there is a referendum that is on the ballot this fall, and so he is going to present the facts of that referendum. I just want to add that our Village of Hainesville is in 2 fire districts. So hopefully you know what fire district you live in. If you're not sure, look up your tax bill and go down the line items and look for which fire district is there. I'm happy to report both fire districts show up for most calls, if not all. So it's all good all the way around. Okay, John, I'll give you the floor.
Great, thank you. I'm going to grab this microphone here. Thank you again for having me tonight. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you about the critical referendum that we have coming up for the fire district. It's very important that we have the funding to continue to do the job that we do on a daily basis. And I put together a presentation that I'll kind of go through and try to explain to you really the facts about why this referendum is so important and the fact that it's not to purchase a new fire station. It's not to purchase a lot of new equipment. It's merely to continue to provide the services that we're doing right now, and it's become critical, and you'll see why here in a couple of minutes. Just to go as a reference, the Grays Lake Volunteer Fire Department, which is where the district started from, was founded in 1899. In 1976, we became a separate taxing body, and it's important also that everybody understands that we're not part of the Village of Grays Lake. We service the Village of Grays Lake, the Village of Hainesville, Wildwood area, Gages Lake, Third Lake, Fremont Township, and about 32,000 residents. And in that, we're just as much the Hainesville Fire Protection District as we are the Grays Lake Fire Protection District. I just want to point that out. Our citizens, we consider all one. Right now, we have 39 career firefighter paramedics. We do use some contract paramedics in that to help keep some of our costs down. We also have 25 part-time individuals that augment our full-time staff on a daily basis. And of course, my administrative assistant, working out of 3 fire stations. The first fire station on the left is our main headquarters fire station. The one next to it is at the College of Lake County on the south side of the college for Braylock Road. And the third is our fire station out by Saddlebrook Farms that we started and operating out of in 2012. Last year we ran 3,671 calls. 68% of those calls were emergency medical calls that we responded to. And kind of an interesting fact with that is 73% of the 68% were advanced life support calls, or the paramedics actually provided some invasive procedures to the patients that they were taking care of. That's considerably higher than the state of Illinois and also the United States. And I bring that point up only to the fact that our services are needed. It's clear that the brunt of our work in emergency medicine is needed out there to our citizens. They are definitely using the service, but they are also calling us when they need us to be there, which is what we're truly there for. This year we'll approach about 4,000 calls. So our call volume continues to increase. We're about 16.5% over the call amount that we had in 2009. So calls that we're responding to on a daily basis continue to increase. First and foremost, as far as our responsibilities, emergency medical services and fire suppression to all of our district residents, our business owners, our visitors to our district are important. That is our main job that we do, but there's a lot of other areas of responsibility that we take care of. We take care of building plan reviews and doing that when it comes to the fire side of it, as far as making sure that the proper codes are being adhered to. We provide fire inspections to our entire district, and our fire inspectors did about 1,300 fire inspections last year. Public education is a big component of what we do also. We're out in the schools, we're out in community events. Anytime we have a chance to talk to people, we are out there to do that. And a lot of times that will allow us to hopefully alleviate someone having an emergency because they might have learned something from us. So that public education component of what we do is extremely critical. We also are part of the Lake McHenry County Specialized Response Team, which I know is another agenda item tonight. As the immediate past chair of that organization, I appreciate the fact that the Village of Hainesville is willing to have an intergovernmental agreement with the Specialized Response Team. Because what a great opportunity and a great site to have that. So thank you to the board for doing that. But we do have hazardous materials and chem bio technicians. We have water rescue technicians, both on the dive side, on the sonar side. Technical rescue technicians who provide in emergency of a collapse, structural collapse, confined space, any high angle or trench emergency that we might respond to. And also Lake County has a wildland team, which is part of the wildland urban interface. And you might not think that Lake County has a lot of that, but when you look at in Lake and McHenry County, if you look at that between the forest preserves and a lot of the open space that we have, there certainly is an opportunity for that. It's a different way to fight a fire than it is to go into a structure fire. And they do it much safer by having the technicians at that level. Grizzly Fire District also does a lot of citizens this. We will go out and pretty much, if someone has a problem, we will go out there. And the mayor and I had talked about this earlier, the fact that our firefighter paramedics live in a culture of we will do anything for anyone. And you'll see a slide coming up about that here shortly, but it's very true. We pride ourselves on the fact we will help anybody at any time, whether it's 2 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon. If you call, you need help or assistance in any way, whether it's an emergency or non-emergency, if you call us, the firefighter, paramedics, and the officers will come out and try to help you any way that they can, if it's nothing more than finding a resource for you to use for that situation, because really when you look at it, that's an emergency to the person that's having that at that time. That's a service that I don't know if everybody provides. If your spouse falls at night and you aren't able to get them up, or you need assistance getting them into a vehicle, and that we consider that a non-emergency call, will come out and help you. There's no charge to do that, just a service that we provide, and we think it's important for our community. We also do in-home fire inspections. We will also help out folks over 65 years of age or people with disabilities to come in and look for hazards in their home or wherever they're living. We do a lot of smoke detector and carbon monoxide detector investigations. And a lot of times we will find that either the smoke or the carbon monoxide detectors are faulty. If the folks don't have the funds to purchase a new one, we want to make sure that they have them before we leave. So through some grants that we've had with some of the utility companies, we've been able to fund that program. And our folks will come out and they'll actually install it for the resident themselves. And really any other safety concerns. Basically, like I said before, our unofficial credo is we will do anything for anyone at any time. And this is something that I'm extremely proud of as the fire chief, that we do that. And we are very blessed to have the talented group that we have that are willing to step up and do that at any time. So now why are we asking for the tax increase or the referendum on the ballot coming up in November? One of the big things is our property values have decreased by 31.5% in the fire district itself. This is in the last 6 years. That was the last time we had a referendum, was in 2008. And we had asked for an increase to build a new fire station, increase staff, and add some apparatus. But there was a downside to that. So in 2009, which 2008 was approved, 2009 tax money was extended. And fire districts are unique and really we have very limited ways to receive revenue. And our biggest primary revenue source is property taxes. We receive some for ambulance billing and very little money through a couple intergovernmental agreements and some donations, but a majority of our money that we receive and are able to operate off of is the tax money that we receive by property taxes. So in 2009, we received a little over $6 million. Because the EAVs, because of the way the referendum was structured in 2008, it froze the limiting rate for 4 years. And what that did is the tax rate did not adjust like it normally would through the tax laws in Illinois. So we saw a decrease of property tax revenue down to $4.8 million by 2011, which was a significant decrease, as you can see from where we were at in 2009, about 20% of our major revenue. And even today, we've come off of that 4-year frozen rate. We still receive 10% less revenue than what was approved back in 2008 or extended in 2009. And as everyone knows, our costs of doing business, especially in this business, have dramatically increased. So looking at the way the tax laws are structured, had that not been a frozen tax rate at that time, and not even including new growth in the calculation, just based off of the CPI growth, and it's been minimal at best, we would be about $6.6 million that would be extended to us. Looking at that, with some of the new growth that we've had, that number would most likely be even more. But it's obviously we've done a lot of things to reduce our costs. Again, with funding, limited funding streams, we do have a small intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Grayslake that provides funds to us for fire inspections within the village limits themselves, and some for plan reviews. And we do have, again, some money donated by various community members. But unfortunately, in our business, budget cuts mean the difference between life and death. So what we look at it is where do we further reduce our costs? Do we reduce our staff? Do we reduce equipment? Do we reduce our payroll, our services? But really, when you look at it, all have negative consequences to the safety of our taxpayers, our residents, our firefighter, paramedics, and really the overall health of our communities that we serve. And when you look at some of the statistics when it comes to emergency medical services, in a heart attack, time is everything with the tissue of your heart. And after 8 minutes of a person being unconscious, if they were to go into cardiac arrest, their chance of survival is very minimal. In fires these days, as you look at the materials that we see in a normal structure, these fires grow rapidly. They double in size every 30 to 60 seconds, and they reach a flashover after about 8 minutes. Flashover means the entire room is on fire, everything in it, and there's no way that anybody could survive through that situation. So basically, in our business, it's all about time, having people in the stations ready to respond and going out to these emergencies so that they can save lives and save property. And it sounds a little cliche, but I can tell you that our folks are out there on a daily basis, and they are making a difference in our communities. Some of the issues that we as a district need to address are our aging fleet, our vehicles. I do have a slide which I'm going to breeze through right now, but I can show you. I will give everybody a copy of this PowerPoint so that you can have it. But our apparatus replacement program that we kind of try to follow because of the cost of replacing this apparatus, if we try to map this out, is getting woefully behind because we've delayed a lot of our capital purchases for new vehicles. 3 of our 4 ambulances right now have over 100,000 miles on them. Our reserve engine is 23 years old, and that's responding out when one of our other vehicles go down. We look at employee salaries in the area, or labor contracts, any personnel cost increases with health care, with workers' comp, making sure our legal expenses that come along with that. Our staffing is something we need to address. Back in 2008, our staffing goal was 14 firefighter paramedics operating out of 2 fire stations. Today, we operate between 10 and 13 a day out of 3 fire stations. So we've had to address that by reducing some of our staff, even though our call volumes continue to go up. Our utility expenses have gone up. Our low reserve fund balance is something, as a fire chief and the administrator of the organization, keeps me up at night, something that needs to be addressed. But we've done everything we can to continue to provide a premium service to our residents. When you look at how do we compare with other fire districts, this slide just kind of shows going through, looking at just the residents and the population and the amount of money extended to it. It doesn't take into anything else, but you look at tax paid per resident. For Grayslake, it's about $171.14. If successful, the tax paid per resident overall will be about $203, and if you look at the county average, it's just over $217. So this is a minimal increase that we're looking for. It's not a huge increase. But it's enough that will allow us to continue to provide the services that we do. So the referendum question that's going to be on the ballot reads just like this. We're basically looking for an increase in the property tax for the fire district by 0.16% above the limiting rate. equal to 0.973%. That basically equates to a home in a $100,000 home is about $53.33 a year additional, and it comes out to about $4.44 a month is what we're looking for that property based off of a home that's worth $100,000. But what it will do for us is it will take us in our extension from 5.5 million to about 6.5 million if all of the stars align. That's if the EAVs don't decline anymore. I can tell you, talking to the county assessor, that's not the case for our township still. We're still starting to see a decrease in that by about 4%. We also cover Warren Township, part of Warren Township, and part of Fremont Township. So our decrease isn't going to be probably as high as it was if we were in the entire Avon Township. But needless to say, our overall extension amount will be less than that 6.5 million that is on there. And again, this equates to $53.33, $4.44 per month, or 14 cents per day if you break it down based on a home worth $100,000. So if this is approved, we will continue to provide the service. We'll be able to address a lot of those issues that we have, making sure we have adequate staff. We're staffing all 3 fire stations, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which is something that has become very difficult to do based on the amount of money that we have. We will continue to be able to meet the call volume demands. And you know, one of the things about the only program that I can see that us trying to do is increase our community paramedicine program by helping people who are discharged from the hospitals in their homes, making sure that they have the resources that they need, that they're well taken care of, so they're not making repeat trips to the hospital, to the emergency room. That's a program that I think has a lot of value in our communities, and we plan on becoming a little more aggressive with that if this passes, so that we can have the staff out there, because they quite honestly do that during their non-emergency times, and they remain available for service for emergencies at the same time. If it's not approved, I can tell you we'll be back doing this in April. This isn't a problem that we can just say, well, you know, we didn't get it passed, so we'll have to make do. We cannot continue to provide that service. This is a problem that's not going to go away. We'll have to look at reevaluating our staffing 24 hours a day in all 3 fire stations. Our community involvement when it comes to fire prevention and public education programs may severely be altered. Our aging fleet, you know, the cost of maintaining the fleet as they get older certainly is very difficult. And in our business, as time is of the essence, having vehicles that are ready to go and respond quickly is very important. But we will continue to do that. And we'll have to look at our service demands for our non-emergency assistance to our residents and how we can provide that at no cost. Because even today, if you are in the Grays Lake Fire District and you are transported to the hospital as a resident, we do not bill our residents. We bill your insurance company. We accept what your insurance company pays us, and that is all. We do not balance bill our residents. It's something that our board of trustees and myself have felt strongly about. The fact, for a couple of different reasons. We're hitting folks out for taxes already, but we never want anybody not to call 911 when they need us because they're afraid they're going to get a bill. I never want that to happen. We encourage people, that's what we're here for. If it's nothing more, we turn around, we go home. It doesn't cost you anything. We'd rather that you're taken care of. That's really the business that we're in. We certainly want to continue to do that. But again, we can't continue with the current operation with the limited funding that we have. And what I'm asking for tonight is to make sure that everybody has the facts and understands so that they have an educated decision when they go to the polls coming up in November. I'm always here to answer any questions for the board, for any residents. I'm willing to meet with any group in the next 3 weeks to talk about this issue because it's extremely important. But again, regardless of whether this passes or fails, we are here for our citizens and our visitors of our fire district 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And we are committed to providing exemplary service to our community. So I appreciate you letting me talk tonight. I don't know if you have any questions. I know I talked really fast. I don't want to get the hook from the mayor. We tried to do this presentation in a really quick time. But does anybody have any questions right now?
Any questions from the board first before I go out to the audience? And John, can you turn the light up? Thank you. Any questions? Anybody from the audience care to ask a question?
I have a couple fact sheets that if anybody did not get one, I certainly want to make sure that you have that. Please share that with your neighbors if you are in our fire district.
I'm going to ask the question.
Certainly.
Certainly, you know, if this did not pass, you made it clear you'd come back in April, and I can understand why you would. But God forbid, if this didn't pass, where does that leave the district? What are we looking at?
There's some very tough decisions that we're going to have to make to manage to get by. Because, you know, when you look at what operations of our size, of the amount of calls and the population that we serve, and the amount of money that we get is considerably less than most of our comparable fire districts, if you will. So we will, you know, it's hard for me to stand up here and don't, you know, say we're going to close that station and we're going to do this and that. These are going to be very tough decisions that we're going to have to look at. And we're going to have to analyze what times of the day perhaps does one station, our slowest station, not have a lot of calls, and perhaps to reduce some of the costs with that, looking at you know, rounding out that station at certain times of the day. That's a real chance that might have to happen. Certainly nothing that I want to see happen.
Yeah.
This is not something that I took lightly, and our Board of Trustees took lightly in the decision to come back and ask for a tax increase to our residents. We realize that you know, taxes are high in our area right now. This is not something that's popular, but it is needed. You know, we've held off. We've known about 3 years now that we were going to have to come back and do this. One of the things during that period that the frozen rate was there is that people's property values went down. They paid less to the fire district because the tax rate did not adjust. And this is not a frozen 4-year question again. It's just for the 1 year, and that will adjust accordingly with the way the tax laws work. So, but there's some tough decisions that we're going to have to make there.
One added fact that I just wanted to share with everyone, because I was actually startled to find out about this, is that fire districts do not get any type of discounted rate or free utilities. Municipalities fortunately benefit from free on certain public works equipment, you know, wells and such, and also discounted rates. The fire district does not benefit from that, which is kind of shocking to me. And so you think of our winters on a busy night.
I watch the tax bills and the electric bills for 3 fire stations just like everybody watches their home.
Yeah, so that was rather shocking to me. So anyway, John, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, excellent presentation. Thank you.
You can just leave it on. Thank you.
At this time, we'll move to public comments. Is there anybody here that's addressing the board? You should have filled out a green sheet and presented it to our clerk. I have one taker. Are there any others? Okay. Chris Larson, please step forward. State your name and address for the record.
Good evening, everybody. Chris Larson, 91 East Haines Drive, Avon Township Trustee and Union Square Treasurer. I'm going to put on all 3 of my hats tonight. First off, as a resident, I wanted to extend my heartfelt thanks to Trustee Gary Walkington. I recently learned that he's going to be retiring from the board. Gary, I know you have seen unbelievable changes throughout our village, and I cannot be happier and prouder of the service you've given to this village and helping through all of its periods of growth. So thank you very, very much for everything.
Been an honor.
Secondly, as treasurer of Union Square, I just wanted to give the board a quick update. You've probably seen this from the street side. We are almost completed with our rebuild efforts. I know there were some sticking points over a number of different issues over the summer. We anticipate being done sometime by the middle of November. So our street side appeal will be back up, and the village will have hopefully some residents returning back into their proper homes before Christmas.
So we'll have a real Thanksgiving.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the hope. And finally, I just wanted to address everybody on behalf of myself, on behalf of the township. If anybody on the board has any questions or would like to discuss any of the concerns or anything that's been going on in the newspaper regarding the assessor's office or regarding the township, please feel free to reach out to me. I would be happy to discuss any of those items with you. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any questions at this time before we let Chris go away? Okay, before we move on with the rest of our agenda, some of you may have noticed somewhere around here there's a cake hanging.
We're not going to eat it, we're just going to look at it.
We do quarterly birthday cakes in our village for officials and staff. And in fall, we usually only have one person that has a birthday, and that is our clerk, Kathy Metzler. And so she has always said, oh, don't bother, it's too much money, let's not do it. If it's just one person, I should have my own cake. Well, we decided she is getting a cake this year. And then I'm very happy to announce that trustee Georgianne Duberstein got an award recently, and in fact this weekend she'll be attending a banquet that's hosted by the Illinois State Board of Education, and she has received an award of recognition from them, from their Those Who Excel program, for her creation and dedication to a tutoring program at Round Lake High School with volunteers. So we have happy birthday to our clerk, Kathy Metzler, and congratulations to Georgianne. We can cut the cake and continue with the meeting. We're going to make, who cut it? Georgianne, you're going to help? Oh, John. All right. Yay. You're just lifting.
Are we just gonna?
Yeah. Is that, you got enough room there? Okay, while they're getting the cake in order, we'll proceed with the omnibus vote agenda. Do I have a motion for approval? Roll call.
Trustees Darrenowski.
Aye.
Priest.
Aye.
Duberstein. Daly.
Aye.
And Washington.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Okay, we'll move on to reports and communications. We'll start with our village engineer, Greg Bruin.
Thanks, Mayor. There's basically one major item to report on, and that's the Cranberry Lake resurfacing project. For anywhere on the west side of Hainesville Road, you know that the project has begun. We're approximately 2 weeks into our schedule. All the storm sewer structures have been repaired. All the curb removal and replacements have been completed. The sidewalk, ADA ramps with the bumps, the detectable warnings, all that work has been completed. We also recently finished the pavement milling out there. And so now all that work is completed, and we're looking at patching towards the end of this week. Actually, we're scheduled for Thursday. And then that should take us into the following week. And then actually the final lift or final pavement will be the week of the 28th through the 31st. Weather permitting, we should be done with this project hopefully before Halloween, or at least substantially complete. And while we're doing the repairs or the road work to the Cranberry Lake resurfacing subdivision, we're also doing some improvements on Whitetail, Lisk, Hunter's Way, and some miscellaneous areas on the east side of Hainesville Road.
Greg, will they be able to start the repaving process on Holiday Lane first before the other areas? Only just that we can eliminate the temporary parking lot sooner than later?
We can give them direction to start. They'll probably start on 134, right where that intersection is.
Okay.
And then have them work their way north.
And then if they could swing and do Holiday Lane first, that would be highly desirable.
I have a question. When other subdivisions had their roads repaired, I thought that that you totally rebuilt the roads so that there was a crown on it and that it was different than it had been before. And I thought that was what was happening with Cranberry Lake. Is that not the case?
No, that's we are actually going to be doing that. Right now, we are 2 weeks into a 4-week schedule. We've done what I would call kind of the preliminary work, which is the sidewalks, the curbs, a little bit of the pavement milling, and now the heavy lifting remains, which is the patching, which you'll see the end of this week, beginning of next week. And then over the entire road, they're gonna put another 1.5 inches of asphalt over it. So that center line of the road, that center elevation, it's actually gonna be raised up. We're gonna raise the elevation a little bit by the curves, so that the water will shed off a little bit more efficiently.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing that we did.
I guess I just pictured it as going down to rocks, but
No,
obviously
no,
that's.
no.
That's why you're the engineer, right?
Anything else at this time, Greg? I'm sorry.
That's all.
Okay, all right. Our village attorney, Jim Rock.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple items tonight. Drafted an annual levy ordinance for the special service area. Was reviewed and discussed, I think, in finance tonight, and will be brought to the board for review and discussion at a future meeting. And also drafted a license agreement with the Lake and McHenry County Specialized Response Teams that will be addressed this evening under business. And that's all I have tonight.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time, it looks like we're ready to get some cake. Are we being served, or should we get up and take a break? Really? Okay, wonderful. Keep up the good work. Then we'll move on to our Public Works Superintendent, Jeff Gately.
Thank you, Mayor. Obviously, the roads have been on the agenda for myself the last couple of weeks. Just overseeing, and again, the project has gone very well, moving along very well. A couple of things. We did get the tree planting list faxed over this afternoon. They're going to be calling the locates so we can have all of our ash trees that were taken down this year replaced. Hopefully, it should be by the end of the month. We'll be ready to go with that. The other thing, I left a message with our representative from 360 Energy about the street lighting. It looks like that the fixture we had chosen that was not part of the DECO grant will end up being part of the DECO grant. And I also came to realize that as opposed to an 80-watt fixture that I thought we were putting in, it's going to be a 55, which sheds the same light. Meaning that the $17,000 I thought we were going to get out of this will be a lot more because we're going from 80 down to 55, so there's some more funding that becomes available. So hopefully we'll hear about that shortly and get that on the books. The only other thing I have to report, obviously the SRT is very excited about moving it next door. We've got both bays ready for them. We're going to get the office that Cynthia's going to be taking a nice fresh coat of paint, and we'll have it all ready probably by the end of this week. So we're looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Police Chief, Phil Perlini.
I'll come around. I just wanted to say that we're ready for Halloween. We've hired bags sufficient police officers. We'll have Jeff and I both working a day during trick-or-treat hours, which is actually the 26th here.
Right. 3:30 to 7 for
yes.
you out in YouTube land.
We will be out in full force as usual, patrolling the neighborhoods, making it safe for the kids. And as I understand it, the roadways probably won't be finished, at least all the way with the top layer by then. So we'll be using some extra caution and everything out there. The extra parking's been working out pretty well. Jeff is stepped out, but he's been filling the generator, the light tower, with fuel for us on a daily basis, which makes things a lot easier. I think with the exception of last night, because we were tied up, we got the lights on a little bit late last night. Otherwise, it's been going very well, and the lights been on all night. I haven't heard any complaints about the noise from the engine or anything like that, so I guess I'm guessing everything's working well. So I appreciate that from Jeff for helping us out by filling it out daily. And I guess really about it. We had a pretty light month. I haven't gotten the normal monthly report out to you yet because, as usual, laying around with the computer reports to try to make them a little bit better. And unfortunately,
So this one's going to look different.
well, not really. we were looking at some numbers and things like that, and we kind of got, the management program that we were trying to run some numbers out of the management program into that, and sort of wrote the report that we're gonna have to fix. So our computer guys are working on it, probably another half a week or something like that, and I'll have a report for you guys. But basically, it's been a pretty light month. And that's about all I got, unless anybody has any questions.
Any takers?
Okay, it's okay.
All right, oh, it's okay. I highly recommend it. Love it, oven, people. If you didn't get some, it's really good. Okay, next up is our treasurer, Kelly Hainesville.
We have a lot of cakes, so please seconds. Most of my items are falling further underneath business. It's been a busy couple of months working with the audit, wrapping up the audit, the annual treasurer's report, tax levy season's upon us, doing utility billing. We have a new hire, Denise Edgebrecht. She started last week Monday. She's here for a couple of days a week. So training's in process and that's just really going strong in the office right now. So I'll just wait to the presentation later.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Village clerk, birthday girl, Kathy Metzler.
Okay, voter registration. I'm the one always telling you. Voter registration closed on Tuesday, October 7th at 5 p.m. There is a grace period registration, which it's long and involved. I'm not going to go into it, but there are sheets up here. They will be out in the foyer. And if anybody needs to register to vote. 3 courtesy election packets. Petition packets have been picked up for the 3 trustee seats for the April election, and just working on my day-to-day duties. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the mayor's report. Well, first of all, very bittersweet. As was mentioned earlier, as is expected, we knew it was coming. Trustee Walkington submitted his letter of resignation since he will no longer be residing within the village limits. Gary has served us just about 20 years as an official, and his knowledge of the lay of the land, the history, is just very invaluable to me. And so he's assured me that he's a phone call away and he won't be a stranger to us. But you are very loved, Gary, and you will be missed. And with that, I did a recent announcement on our website. It's out in the newsletter, is that I am accepting letters of interest from residents who would like to be appointed to fill the remainder of Gary's term, which would be until the spring election. So not only if you're interested in that appointment, I strongly recommend that you pick up an election packet, because you have to start that and turn that in by December 22nd if you would like to be on the spring ballot for trustee. So there will be 3 seats that will be on that ballot. So I encourage all residents that are interested, please submit your letter for the appointment, and or also pick up the election packet. Maybe you don't want to be appointed yet, but want to consider running, so please do so. I do ask that all letters of interest are submitted to me no later than November 3rd. My goal is to make an announcement at the November 11th board meeting. That will be Gary's last board meeting, and we will give him a very special send-off at that meeting. And of course, we have made a promise that he will come back for our holiday dinner, so he will do that.
The chair of finance have to insist he pay, though.
I'll save him. I'll ask my wife.
Go talk to the boss. I also want to express my thanks to all the Cranberry Lake residents, particularly those on Holiday Lane, because you don't have readily parking alternatives available, and I think we've come up with the best solution that we possibly could. thanks to Jeff and our police chief with our temporary parking lot. I realize it's an inconvenience. Construction is an inconvenience. There's no way getting around it. But it's going to be very worthwhile to have a nice, smooth, solid road. So we will go as quickly as we can, still assuring we do a quality job and pray that the weather cooperates, and that will get the job done much faster. I don't have a lot to report as far as outside activity since our last meeting a couple weeks ago. I have a lot of meetings between now and the next meeting, so I have a lot to report. Swelco issues, sanitary sewer issues and such. So we'll talk about that at the next meeting. With that, I want to move on to the standing committee reports. Finance, Trustee Daly.
Just a couple things, some facts I've gleaned from our audit. The village's assessed valuation has dropped from 2008 to 2013, Chief, this won't surprise you, by 40%. Our tax revenue for that same time period, the money we receive, has dropped by 27%. We're still doing fine though. A couple other things that is before the Finance Committee now is we've just started researching software for our finance and possibly for our water billing. Just ours is, we're just looking for an update. Budget time is coming. As Kelly will be putting forms out in the not too distant future. And also tonight in the Finance Committee, we've decided for the amount that we're going to request in the levy. And that amount was, Kelly, do you recall, $475,000. We won't get that amount, but that's what we asked for, and we expect to receive roughly $460. And then I want to add my 2 cents and thank you to Kelly, Kathy, Roseanne, who have been carrying the load of 4 people and doing well. There's been a few more gray hairs added over the last month or so, but I know. Can I borrow your hair dye? I want to thank each of you for the time and the work you put in it. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hear, hear. Well said. Okay, Public Works, Trustee Walkington.
I really don't have anything to say tonight.
You're going to make me cry, Gary.
No, I really don't have anything to report.
All right, well then we'll move on to Public Safety with Trustee Grease.
Thank you, Mayor. Not too much other, except for Mayor informed me today that Lake County did come out and assess the youth safety issue on Hainesville Road, and we're going to set up a meeting with Lake County shortly, hopefully,
To discuss
that a little bit further.
alternative barriers.
Right. Another thing is I'd just like to ask our residents that next week when trick-or-treating is between 3:30 and 7, that they can just remain off the road to keep it a little bit safer for our trick-or-treaters and everything else. And that's about it.
Well, for everybody else out there, because we talked about it last week, you want to explain what we're trying to assess
On Hainesville Road?
Yeah.
Hainesville Road, the past, we had 2 incidences where cars have left the road and hit one hit the building, caused a fire, hit the gas main, caused a fire, in which case Mr. Larson, right, Chris was talking about, it's finally getting back to being rebuilt. There was another accident that happened, I think, what was it? August? And what happened is another person left the road and came awfully close to hitting another gas main on the north side of Hainesville Road, okay, right by near Washington. And so we've had 2 incidences where the cars have left the road and the gas mains are kind of exposed. We're trying to figure an alternative to how to stop, how to block them or whatever, so that if a car does accidentally leave the road, we won't have the issue of them hitting gas mains. So we were talking about guardrails with Lake County. They were going to evaluate whether they're needed or not. And
There's alternative type barriers. We also have talked to the Homeowners Association regarding the recent event about steps with trees. There's some trees that need to be replaced, and so those do act as a buffer and at least slow down vehicles. So, but that's not the sole answer, so we will meet with the county and discuss what options are available. Okay? Wetlands and open spaces and Great Age Club, Trustee Duberstein.
Well, there's a business item for the wetland committee, so I'll leave that till then.
Okay.
The Great Age Club had their annual progressive dinner on Saturday. We had 18 people attend, and everybody had a good time. Our November meeting will be the second Tuesday, because the first Tuesday is the election day, and the village is a site. So, and we're gonna have a vintage movie. So anybody who has someone in their household 62 or older is welcome to attend. We'll have popcorn.
Do we know the name of the vintage movie yet?
No, Dave is gonna pick one.
Okay, all right, Dave.
Do you need a piano player for that silent movie?
We need a piano, Jerry. Can we put that in the budget?
Who's got the talent?
Jerry, you qualify too?
Okay, broadcast media manager, Trustee Darrenowski.
Well, we had a little hiccup with YouTube that I didn't realize until a couple of days ago. Uploaded the video just like I always do, and just decided that now they wanted us to authenticate, and didn't send me an email to that effect, just waited and waited and waited for those videos to get published, and they didn't. So I do apologize for the delay. They are now fully up for the meeting, as well as the special we set as the Planning and Zoning Board last meeting, and so that is up and running, and we've only had 2 hits on the videos, and that's probably why.
Ah, okay.
But we are now authenticated and
We're
verified,
authenticated.
so I can post videos as long as I'd like.
Okay. Glad to know we're authentic. Okay, with that, Trustee Barrett's not here for transportation. You do see that things up at Rollins and 83 are moving along. It continues to be pretty impressive, as massive as that project is. Under business, our first item up, which I am truly excited about this. I think this is such an exemplary example of intergovernmental cooperation. This is a motion to approve the license agreement, which is between the village and the Lake and McHenry County Specialized Response Team. So we have a bay and a half next door in our Public Works building that we'll be leasing out along with one office. And this is equipment that individual fire departments could not afford to buy and would not need all that often, but it's equipment that when they need it, they need it. So this is a specialized response team that services both McHenry and Lake County fire districts. And Chief, if I'm not saying that right, feel free to correct me. But what's ideal is our location is very central to all the fire departments and their needs. And that building with the drive-through bays and the height of the bays is also very ideal for them. So it's worked out very well. So I would like to ask for a motion for the approval.
Second.
Wow, thank you.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Trustees Darrenowski.
Aye.
Crease.
Aye.
Duberstein.
Aye.
Daly.
Aye.
And Washington.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Item 2, we had a presentation at our last meeting and some discussion. So this is a motion to ratify the Village Hall Pond Shore restoration with native restorations not to exceed $12,000.
So moved.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Trustees Darrenowski.
Aye.
Crease.
Aye.
Duberstein.
Aye.
Daly.
Aye.
And Washington.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And item 3 is presentation and a motion to approve the annual financial report fiscal year ending April 30th, 2014. Kelly, you got the floor.
Okay, thank you. I hope everyone had a chance to review the audit, stayed awake for it. start and go to the management discussion analysis on page 3. Just some financial highlights for everyone. The assets of the village exceeded its liability at the close of most recent fiscal year. We exceeded it by $17,350,000. This was slightly less than the previous year. Of this amount, 3.1 mil may be used to meet the village's ongoing obligations to citizens and creditors. The village's total net position, or the village's bottom line, decreased by $334,000. This includes the systematic and planned consumption of the village's capital assets. Next year, at this time, when we start reviewing fiscal year ending 15, we'll see that figure go up quite a bit. Our plan in the budget, this current budget year that we're in, was to really utilize and get some capital projects done and spending out of our savings to accomplish that. The village's government funds reported combined fund balances of $3.2 million. Of this, 2.7 is available for spending. The village's total debt decreased by $73,000 during the current fiscal year. The debt is comprised of the outstanding principal on the Public Works building next door, the IEPA loan, and the payoff of a tractor capital lease that we paid off this current fiscal year. Throughout the statement, you can move on to page 10. Just some budgetary highlights. The general fund's actual revenue were under budget by roughly $50,000, which means the village received less than what was budgeted for. The expenditures were $11,000 less than what was budgeted. The village spent less than what we budgeted for, which is always good. As of April 30th, 2014, the village had long-term debts and loans payable of $676,000 roughly. The long-term debt again is comprised of the bank note payable for the Public Works building and the IEPA loan. If you need more info on that, you can find it on page 12.
Half of that loan will be paid off, of the Public Works loan will be paid off as part of this budget year, as part of our budgeted amount, and we'll probably do that in December.
Correct. The outlook for the fiscal year 2015 is a positive